The whole brew for a satanic orgy is presented without clear criteria, which gives genocidal swindlers a lot of freedom for perverted fantasy. The sequence of actions of WHO and its subcommittees and the definition of WHO. The emergency committee meets and analyzes the impact of the current pandemic on every aspect of a person's life, and then a decision is made. Otherwise, the Director General decides to declare an emergency situation, such as scam, gives WHO the right to give the go-ahead to all structures at will. In 2009, all the great combinators had predicted with voices from their belies as early as 2005 finally broke out. The situation with the avian flu disappointed them because they, the filthy seed, did not spend the scum it came to naught, causing criticism from politicians and the public, since huge quantities of vaccine were purchased with money from the pocket of taxpayers, and even a stupid 100 corpses were not available. Countries had to bear millions of dollars in losses again to destroy the useless vaccine. The swindlers again performed the classic edging, as they say, only sleight of hand and no deception, God forbid. But the benefactors of the entire human race have already got a test and claim that the next case will certainly happen and 100 times more terrible. So get ready and prepare money, not again, but for the next time. And now, in 2009, the swine flu is happening. The beginning of this performance, like the previous one, is the same according to the laws and canons of the actions of a thief girl on trust, again on the trust of a sucker and shipples, of course. Attention, ladies and gentlemen, it began with a small village of La Gloria in the Mexican state of Veracruz, from where there are reports of only a few cases of disease, human infection from a pig. Then similar incidents were recorded in the USA, and horses with the bells rushed off. The WHO propaganda apparatus begins to escalate the situation with undisguised haste. Then the WHO raises the estimated risk all the way up to the 5th phase right by the day. And then, well, nothing. There's not even the smallest excuse. Then, these girls, inhuman kiwis, carry out a feint with furry ears and a pork snouts. Yeah. On May 4, 2009, on the side of CNN, in an article by the professor of environmental, so-called professor, protection at Boston University, Oznov, it states that the pandemic only seems scary, but in fact, refers to a widespread disease, not a danger. The guy's roof was clearly blown away by the incessant desire to whip the cream again. As a regard, one of the CNN reporters drew attention to the discrepancy between the professor's statement and the WHO's definition of what pandemic is. The Natalie will be the press secretary of the WHO, calls the editorial office and declares about the erroneous definition of WHO and that it was deleted because it is outdated and too gloomy. The WHO then announces the start of phase 6 on. You see? Very nice. 11 June and declare the swine flu pandemic. The WHO press service publicly stated on the website of the medical journal Escape that in general the old definition of pandemic was only a description but not an official definition. You guys, they say, misunderstood. What it means. And we acknowledge that this could be misinterpreted, as we are to blame for the confusion between definition and description. It's a pity not to add, forgive us, we will not be like this anymore. The logical question arises, what is now hanging on the WHO website, a description or definition? WHO President Madam Chang sang the same song. These events took place in 2009 to 10th. But let's move on. All these years, Satan's fantasies have been creating a technological and ideological basis for terror and two decisive factors persuasion, namely the illogicality for the rules, precisely terror, both facts working to break the human psyche. Already in 2015, a plan for 17th Sustainable Development Goals appears 2015 September 15th. Until 2030, and the next goal is to ensure a healthy lifestyle, well-being for every age, so-called, which involves supporting research on the development of a vaccine, no more no less. As I understand it, we are talking about a vaccine. Happiness. Once injected and immediately you are happy and then catch as much as you like. And of course, all this grace is primarily of developing countries in their fight against infectors, and other diseases, poverty and misery. For the aforementioned good purposes, WHO in May 16th makes a fundamental change in the issue of cooperation with non-governmental organizations. From this moment, cooperation expands to commercial, non-governmental and philanthropic organizations which give them right to directly influence WHO's policy. As the 16th year and the initiative of Madam Chan, WHO member states agreed to develop and jointly adopt a house emergency burial program, burial say, lies the current collapse of the post-capitalist financial pyramid scheme, of which WHO has spurred $500 million. What we are talking about, in addition to the technical and regulatory functions, where WHO received operational capabilities with direct subordination to it of essentially all government prostitutes and wallets of both genders, and difficult to define genders and commercial buy-sell deceived structures. The issue of flexible financial response was also considered in the sense of plundering public finances and corruption. In May 18th, for the implementation of the Satanists General Program for 2013-2023, was the mission of WHO to strengthen and maintain security is indicated, strengthening its leadership role in a wider aspect.
Сашка, кс-кс-кс, Саша, кс-кс-кс-кс-кс, ебать.
And it's not surprising that only 20% are contributions from WHO member states, while 80% of this brothel comes from international commercial mafia structures, such as the European Commission, the World Bank, etc. etc. Well, get my idea, ladies and gentlemen. In parallel with these and other criminal structures as being formed, the Global Readiness Monitoring Council. The question is appropriate. Readiness for what? The creators of these are WHO and the World Bank. The purpose of the Council is to describe and predict in September 19, the Council of the Godfathers of the Brazil, literally 2 months before the announcement of the pandemic. This Council published its first report, The World is under threat, social chaos. The world is not ready for such a threat. Further lifelong prisoners again refer up to pandemic 1980s. And for greater importance, the cover of the Escape magazine with the image of the coronavirus with a bird and in a woman's dress in an Euro video. The dress rehearsal of the next come of bullshit literally a month later on October 18th, 2019, 19th, concocted for contributions to the common cause of an international gangster group. I repeat, contributions from its member, Bill Gates, the World Economic Forum, the Center for the Study of Genders, you see, all being healthy at Johns Hopkins University, conducts a famous rehearsal under the title Event 201, in which the entire scenario of the current satanic owen is spelled out. But the most important thing is that right before the demonic ritual, the World Bank conducts its rehearsal of internal action. There are 4 of them, and the last one was also dedicated to the same terrifying upcoming pandemic with a huge number of deaths. Under the slogan, "Remember Pandemic 1918th." And a month later, the genocidal monsters unfold their orgy to the fullest. On December 31, WHO announces viral pneumonia in Wuhan city with hysterical fear-mongering through the media. Then the extraordinary committee issues a decree from scratch, either with lack of sleep or with an overdose, that coronavirus infection should be included in the list of dangerous diseases. But what about the international disease qualification? According to the international qualification of disease 10, coronavirus infection passes under the code B342. And if we open the qualification handbook, we'll see that B342 is a coronavirus infection of undetermined localization, and further it is marked that this code does not include COVID-19. COVID-19 has a completely different encoding. The guys from the jazz band WHO in relation to COVID-19 in kind beguiled Ramses, and he finally is not in a business because of his conceptions and birth from a computer program in which digital rascals had a lot of fun. They had a lot of fun and received a bribe. And on March 11th, Gubrathus, a member of the organized crime group WHO and Co. company, speaking at a briefing, told reporters that the spread of COVID can be described as pandemic. Further, the official representative of the necrophags says that we have never seen the pandemic caused by the coronavirus until now. A frank confession of Iraq. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first pandemic to be caused by the coronavirus. Well, so I will never seen a pandemic that can be taken under control, and I will allow myself to comment on the spiritual outpourings of the sun of the beach and say, yes, we would rather see a all pretend in a monkey house and escorts than a heartlessly slandered COVID. The current crisis is not only in the health sector, it affects every sector. Therefore, in the fight against the pandemic, every sector and every person should participate. From myself, I will add, in the sense that everything and everyone should be bent irrevocably and as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen,